They didn't see me. Not really. Not when they packed their bags. Not when they used my money. Not when they left me behind with a list taped to the fridge. But I was watching. And when they sailed off thinking I'd stay home and water their plants, I booked a suite on the same ship. This isn't a story of revenge. It's the story of finally choosing me. I didn't expect a thank you. That ship had sailed years ago. But I'll admit, I didn't see the powdered detergent coming. It was Laura who handed it to me. Boxy, blue, economy size. "So you don't have to worry about running out while we're gone," she said, setting it on the kitchen counter like a hostess gift to a cleaning lady. "You know how much laundry builds up when we get back." I just smiled, polite as ever, and nodded. I think I even said thank you. God help me. The whole house was buzzing with pre-cruise energy. Kids running around half-dressed, beach towels draped over chairs, a Target bag spilling sunscreen onto the floor. Laura was barking logistics into her Bluetooth. Adam was printing boarding passes like some overworked travel agent, and I was, as usual, invisible in plain sight. They hadn't even told me the cruise was happening until a week ago, and even then, it came out sideways. Adam muttered something about watching the house while I was folding towels. "You'll keep an eye on things, right, Mom?" he said, without really asking. "You're the only one we trust." Trust. Funny word for a woman you've decided not to include. No one ever said the words out loud, that I wasn't invited. But silence can be loud when everyone's busy packing and no one's asking what I need from CVS. I heard enough to piece it together. Laura, whispering to her sister on the phone, "Of course she's not coming. She's sweet, but she'd slow everything down." That one stayed with me. Sweet. Like a pet or a pie. Later that night, I went to my bedroom and saw a list on my nightstand. Laura's handwriting. Neat, controlling. "While we're away," it read, "water the succulents. Run the pool filter every other day. Feed the neighbor's cat." They'd volunteered me, apparently. "Double lock the doors. Bring in packages." It went on for 2 pages. 2 full pages. The kicker? My own suitcase was missing from the closet. I found it in the guest room, filled with inflatable floaties and a bottle of SPF 50. My things had been moved, or dumped into a bin in the garage, I wasn't sure, to make space for theirs. I didn't say anything. Not yet. I went downstairs, made myself a cup of tea, and sat by the back window. Outside, Adam was loading the car. I could see Laura folding beach hats into a canvas tote. The kids were bickering over who got the window seat. I watched all of it like someone watching TV with the sound off. There I was, sitting in the same kitchen I'd cooked 100 holiday meals in, the house I'd paid the original down payment for, when Adam's credit was too shot to qualify a loan, watching them take a vacation I didn't even know I was funding. The next morning, the credit union sent an automatic alert. A large purchase had been made on my old joint account with Adam, the one we opened years ago when he got laid off. I'd forgotten it still existed. The alert listed the vendor, a travel company. Cruise tickets, nearly $4,000. That money had been sitting untouched for years. Emergency funds. I guess their definition of emergency was different from mine. I didn't call him. What would I say? He'd just explain it, in the way he always does. Talking fast, interrupting, guilt-tripping me into silence. Instead, I printed out the transaction, folded it neatly, slipped it into the same folder where I kept my birth certificate and the deed to this house. Then I poured myself another cup of tea. They leave in 2 days. Laura's been too busy to look me in the eye. Adam's been calling me champ again, like I'm a pet he forgot to feed. And the kids, well, kids are kids. They don't know the difference yet between love and convenience. Tonight, I'll wash the guest sheets, water the succulents, and fold my own laundry like always. But I've also pulled my passport from the drawer. Wipe the dust off. It expires in 2 years. Still valid. So am I. The morning after they left, the silence hit me like a brick wall. You never notice the hum of a house until it's gone. No footsteps overhead. No arguing about cereal. No Laura rattling off instructions like she's running a Fortune 500. Just the ticking of the kitchen clock and the occasional distant bark from the neighbor's dog. It was peaceful, sure, but also hollow. Like being the last person left on Earth, except your name is still on the utility bills. I went to the fridge and stared at the shelves full of items I didn't buy. Almond milk, some kind of chia pudding, leftover kale salad in a plastic container with Laura's name written in Sharpie, as if I'd be tempted to steal it. I closed the door. On the counter sat the list. While we're away. I picked it up, turned it over, and wrote across the back in big block letters, "I'm not your damn maid." Then I folded it back in half and shoved it in the junk drawer where it belonged. Around lunchtime, I pulled up Facebook. Not because I wanted to, just force of habit. And there they were, the first pictures. Adam grinning on the deck of the cruise ship, holding a margarita with too much salt on the rim. Laura in a wide-brimmed hat, captioned, "Mom's ready for her pina colada." And the kids, side by side in matching shirts that read, "Family Cruise 2025, 3 generations of adventure." 3 generations. That one stopped me. Because I wasn't in the picture. Not even a mention. Not even a tag. But you know who was? Laura's grandmother, Pearl, 82, hard of hearing, sweet as pie when she remembers who you are. They flew her in from Nebraska and got her a ticket, smiling next to my grandkids like she'd raised them. I clicked through the photos, one after another, every image a little punch to the gut. On deck, at dinner, by the pool. And there, in the comments, someone had written, "So great that everyone could go. You must be thrilled to all be together." Laura responded with a heart emoji, and yes, our whole crew. Our whole crew. Like I was already gone. Dead, maybe? Or just irrelevant. That night, I opened the closet and looked for my suitcase again. Empty now. Probably because all the beach gear was with them. I sat on the floor and stared at it. That sad, dented old thing had more miles on it than I did in the last decade. And then, I did something I hadn't done in years. I Googled the name of the cruise line. It didn't take long to find the itinerary. Port Canaveral to Cozumel. 7 nights. All inclusive. There was a little track your booking feature at the top of the page. I clicked it. The ship had departed less than 24 hours ago. On schedule. Then I clicked over to available cabins. Almost everything was booked solid. Family suites, standard rooms, even the lower deck ones with no windows. But there, at the top, almost glowing, was one remaining option. Presidential suite, deck 12, ocean view, private balcony, concierge service. I stared at the screen for a long time. Not in a sad way. Not even angry. Just interested. I didn't book it. Not yet. I just kept the tab open. Instead, I went to my room and dug through a shoebox in the closet. Old savings bonds, a check from the settlement after George's accident, a few bills I didn't know I still had. And then, the bank envelope. One I'd kept for years. My, in case I snap money. A little over $12,000. Just sitting there. Forgotten by everyone but me. Back in the kitchen, the list was still in the junk drawer. I pulled it out and stared at the words, "Bring in packages," and "Run pool filter." Then I walked into the garage, took the filter cover off, and left it open. Let the damn thing buzz and flash its red warning light. I didn't care. Before I went to bed, I opened that cruise tab again. The suite was still there, still waiting. I think I smiled. Not out of pettiness, out of possibility. The suite was still there the next morning. I checked before my coffee even finished brewing. It felt like a game at first. A little thrill, just to see if it had disappeared overnight, taken by some businessman with too much money and too little personality. But no. Still there. Still mine, if I wanted it. I didn't eat breakfast. I just stood in the kitchen, barefoot, robe tied half-heartedly around me, staring out the window at the pool. The red warning light on the filter blinked steadily, like it was trying to remind me that I had a list to finish, that I was supposed to be the reliable one, the good one, the background figure who keeps everything running while everyone else makes memories. I turned away and went to my room, pulled open my closet. Not the side with the folded sweatpants and faded nightgowns, the other side, the one I hadn't touched in years. There it was, my navy blue travel set, wrinkled, dusty, but still sharp in its lines. I ran a hand over the blazer, then found the matching slacks. Still fit. Close enough. I took a shower, did my hair, put on a little foundation for the first time in God knows how long. Lipstick, too. Not that pinky mauve I usually reach for. Red. I looked in the mirror and didn't see a grandma. I saw a woman who once walked into a courtroom and argued her own property dispute when she couldn't afford a lawyer. I saw someone who used to have a spine. Then I called the cruise line. The hold music was some steel drum rendition of "Don't Worry, Be Happy." I almost laughed. When the agent came on, I gave my name, spelled it twice. I told her which suite I wanted. She paused and said, "Oh, that's our presidential suite. Are you aware of the price, ma'am?" "Yes," I said, "and I'm aware of the value." She booked it, asked if I needed airfare or transportation to the port. I told her I'd handle it. I didn't need hand-holding. Not anymore. I wired the money from my private account, the one no one else had access to, the one George and I opened before Adam was even born. After that, I pulled out my passport and wiped it down with a tissue. Then I emailed my neighbor Carol. "Can you keep an eye on the place for a week?" I wrote. "Also, toss the detergent if you need it." "I won't." Her reply came within minutes. "Are you okay?" I answered, "Finally." I booked a car to the port for the following morning, packed my bag, one suitcase, not the family's old hand-me-downs, but the burgundy leather one I'd bought with my first bonus back in the 90s. Still smelled faintly like cedar and optimism. I included a single photo. George and I in San Diego, the last real vacation we ever took together. I folded it gently and tucked it into the inside pocket of the suitcase. I slept better than I had in weeks that night. When I arrived at the port, I waited until I was sure they'd already boarded. I'd timed it deliberately. My black sedan pulled up to the terminal's private check-in lane, and a young man in a white uniform opened my door. "Mrs. Caldwell?" he asked. "Right this way. We've been expecting you." He took my bag. I followed him through a different entrance than the main boarding crowd. No children screaming, no lines of sunscreen-sticky tourists. Just a short hallway, cool and quiet, and then a private elevator that hummed all the way up to Deck 12. The suite was, I don't have words for it. Marble counters, a king bed with crisp white linens, floor-to-ceiling windows that opened onto a balcony with two padded loungers and a little table already set with fruit and champagne. I walked straight to the glass doors and opened them. The air was warm, salty. The ship's horn sounded somewhere far below, and I saw the port drifting away behind us. I didn't wave goodbye. A knock at the door came about 10 minutes later. Room service. They wheeled in a tray with a covered plate and a bottle of chilled wine. I lifted the lid. Smoked salmon, cucumber salad, little fancy crackers. The kind of food Laura would describe as pretentious. The kind of food I now realized I enjoyed. I poured myself a glass and sat on the balcony, watching the ocean stretch endlessly ahead. Somewhere down below, on a lower deck, I imagined them. Adam, Laura, the kids, maybe even Pearl, crammed into their family suite, arguing over luggage space or Wi-Fi. Up here, it was just me. I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel triumphant either. I felt still, like I'd finally stopped moving for other people. Like the ship wasn't the only thing leaving the shore behind. I'd just finished my second glass of wine when I saw them. Not right away. The ship was big, and I'd done my best to stay in my corner of it. But after breakfast on the third day, I decided to take a slow walk along the main deck, just to stretch my legs. I wasn't hiding. I was just moving differently, at my own pace, not chasing anyone, not waiting to be invited. And then there they were. Adam's laugh gave them away first. That deep, performative bark he uses when he's trying to impress strangers. I turned a corner, and there they stood by the pool, wearing matching cruise t-shirts, drinks in hand. Pearl was in a lounge chair, with a wide-brimmed visor, a daiquiri melting beside her. The kids were playing some loud game with pool noodles. Laura spotted me before Adam did. Her eyes narrowed like she was seeing a ghost. "Martha," she said, already walking toward me. What are you doing here?" I looked at her, calm as ever. "Same as you, Laura. Vacation." Adam came over, eyes wide. "Did something happen at the house? The kids, are they okay?" "The house is fine," I said. "I hired someone to check in." Laura blinked. "Wait, you're on this ship? Like, actually booked?" "I did," I said, smiling. "I'm on deck 12. That made her pause. 12? She repeated. "There's nothing up there but the suites," I said. "I'm in the presidential one." The look on their faces was worth every cent I'd spent. "But why?" Adam asked, like I'd just confessed to robbing a bank. I tilted my head. "Because I wanted to." Laura folded her arms. "You know, this feels kind of calculated. You didn't say anything to us." "Neither did you," I said, voice quiet. "When you decided to use my savings account to pay for your trip." Adam's face flushed. "That was a misunderstanding. You said we could use it for family emergencies." I nodded. "And you defined emergency as a Caribbean buffet." We stood there a moment, the noise of the pool suddenly feeling miles away. Then I smiled, polite as ever, and turned to go. "Don't worry," I said over my shoulder. "I won't interfere with your plans. Enjoy your vacation." Back in my suite, I opened the balcony doors and let the wind sweep the room. I felt light. Not vindicated, just untethered. That afternoon, I received a message from the front desk. Someone from a lower cabin had filed a complaint. Something about a disruptive presence at the pool. I asked who filed it. They wouldn't say, but I didn't need them to. Later that day, I found out from a kind waiter that Laura had requested I be excluded from the family dinner reservation. "Private event," she'd said. "Just our immediate group." I sat on my balcony that evening with a plate of grilled shrimp and a glass of Chardonnay, listening to the ocean and watching the lights below flicker in the dining hall windows. I didn't feel left out. I felt free. The next morning, I paid a visit to the guest services desk and asked to speak with the ship's legal concierge, a complimentary service, apparently, for suite-level guests. The young man behind the desk looked surprised, but polite. "I'd like to discuss an update to my will," I said. His brows lifted. "Of course, Mrs. Caldwell. We can schedule that." I walked out of that office with more than just a meeting on the books. I walked out with a plan. They'd erased me from photos, conversations, plans, even their table. But not from myself. Not anymore. The appointment was set for noon. A quiet room near the upper deck, just past the spa and the VIP library. It smelled faintly of citrus oil and leather chairs. The ship's legal concierge, a soft-spoken woman named Dana, greeted me with a smile. Not the kind people reserve for old women they're trying to move along politely, but the kind that said, "You matter. Let's get this right." I handed her a folded envelope. Inside, my original will. The one George and I drew up together decades ago, back when the house still smelled like baby powder and hope. Back when I believed my sacrifices would come back around. When Adam was still calling me Mama and bringing me dandelion bouquets from the backyard. "I want to make a change," I said. "A significant one." Dana nodded without asking why. She opened a file on her sleek little tablet and tapped gently as I dictated. I removed Adam Caldwell as beneficiary of the house, savings, and life insurance. I removed Laura's name too. In their place, I named a foundation, Women Rising. Later, a nonprofit I'd read about that offered legal and housing support for women over 60 who'd been isolated, financially abused, or pushed aside. She looked up at me, cautious. "Are you certain, Mrs. Caldwell?" "I'm not angry," I said, and I wasn't lying. "I'm just done investing in people who treat me like I'm part of the furniture. I want this to matter. I want it to go to someone who doesn't assume they're entitled to it." When the document was signed and uploaded, I felt no guilt, only relief. Back in my suite, I poured a cup of strong coffee and opened the sliding door. The sea was brilliant, glassy and endless, and the breeze lifted the curtain like a hand brushing hair from my face. That evening, there was a knock on my door. Not a uniformed staff member, not Dana. Sophie, my granddaughter, stood in the hallway, fidgeting with the strap of her little evening purse. 17, going on 40, always too observant for her own comfort. I saw you," she said, "at breakfast. I wasn't supposed to say anything, but I wanted to." I stepped aside without a word and let her in. We sat out on the balcony with ginger ale and a plate of fruit between us. "They said you were being difficult," she said quietly, "that you were trying to ruin the trip." I smiled gently. "And what do you think?" "I think they're scared of you," she said, "because you're not doing what you always do. You're not being easy." I laughed. Not a full one, just a short, surprised exhale. "They never liked when I had a backbone." She looked down. "They're not fair to you. Dad doesn't even say your name unless he needs something." I watched the horizon, the thin pink edge where the sky met the water. "I'm not asking you to take sides, sweetheart. I just want you to remember something when you get older. Love doesn't look like lists taped to refrigerators, or secret cruise plans." She nodded, biting her lip. Before she left, she hugged me tight. Tighter than she ever had in that noisy house back home. That night, I skipped the formal dinner. I wasn't interested in fake smiles or lukewarm pasta. Instead, I knocked on a door down the hall. Harvey, the widower from the cigar tasting, opened it with a grin. "Well," he said, stepping aside, "wasn't sure if you'd call my bluff." "I wasn't sure either," I said. "But I figure I've already broken one rule this week." We sat on his balcony, two old people sipping good bourbon in silence, letting the dark water speak for us. The next morning, a notification arrived in Adam's inbox. The subject line: "Legal notification, estate revision completed." I imagined his reaction. The sputtering, the red face, the frantic phone call that I would never answer. I turned off my phone and watched the sun come up. We docked at Port Canaveral on a quiet morning, all that ocean behind us like a long exhale. Passengers bustled with luggage and sunburns, chattering about early flights and shuttle times, the usual post-vacation scramble. I took my time. No one was waiting for me. No one was expecting me. For the first time in years, I wasn't a ride, a babysitter, a plan B. I stepped off the ship in my navy blazer, wheeling my single suitcase behind me. No family group photo, no goodbye hugs, just me and the road ahead. At the terminal, a town car waited with my name printed in neat, bold letters. The driver greeted me with a warm, "Mrs. Caldwell," and opened the door like I was someone who mattered. I got in without hesitation. That afternoon, I signed the final paperwork on the house sale. I'd listed it while we were still at sea. Virtual walkthrough, cash buyer, no contingencies. The market had never been better. I left the signed deed in the envelope for the attorney and dropped the keys in the mailbox slot. No note, no ceremony. I didn't need to leave a message. The house would do that for me. From the airport, I flew west. Arizona. Dry heat, wide skies. George and I used to talk about retiring there, but we never got the chance. Life, bills, Then his accident. Plans always came last. Now finally, I was doing what we said we would. The cottage I rented was small, but sunlit. A little porch, a fig tree out front, neighbors who waved but didn't ask questions. The landlord was a widower named Eddie with arthritic hands and a fondness for crossword puzzles. We got along just fine. The first week I bought myself a new set of dishes, bright turquoise. I filled the fridge with exactly what I liked: pimento cheese, good olives, the kind of wine Laura always rolled her eyes at. I planted lavender in pots and hung wind chimes by the door. I let my hair go gray without apology. A letter arrived from Sophie. Handwritten. She said she missed me, that things were tense at home, that she was saving up to come visit during spring break. Just her. I pressed the letter to my chest and didn't cry. Not quite, but close. One morning, a familiar knock at the door. Harvey, holding 2 cups of coffee and a shy little smile. "Didn't think you meant it when you said I should stop by," he said. "I wouldn't have said it if I didn't," I replied. We sat on the porch, sipping quietly, watching the sky shift colors like a slow-breathing lung. Later that week, I received a letter from the bank. Formal, confirming that all linked accounts had been severed. The old joint one, the one Adam had quietly drained, was now closed. All assets were consolidated under my name only. I set the letter down on my new desk, beside a photo of George and me in front of the Grand Canyon, back when our skin was tighter and our dreams bigger. I went to the porch, sat back in the rocker, and took a long, slow breath. I wasn't a lesson. I wasn't a warning. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. And for the first time in decades, I wasn't theirs. I was mine.